Alrighty, so we got two pit bikes here, guys, and the main focus is going to be what to look for when you're buying a used bike. And this goes for basically anything from a little bike to motorcycle, motocross bike, whatever size it is, doesn't really matter. Just going to be some general things that I'm looking for when I'm looking at a new bike. We just recently purchased these two bikes here, got a good deal on them, but they're not perfect, and we pointed out all the flaws. So that's just, if you can point out some of the flaws to the seller, they're more likely to take less on their price, and then you'll seem more educated, so you'll just look better overall. And then you actually know what you're talking about, and you can see the issues before you get home. Then you get home and you find out, oh, something's seriously wrong with this bike, and you get screwed over and you lose a bunch of money. So we've all been there, or if you haven't been there, you don't want to be there. So first thing I look for is just a visual of the bike. So if there any plastics missing, is there bolts missing, feel the plastics, feel the seat, take a look just visually, look at the front end, is there bolts missing up here? Also on a dirt bike especially, look at the spokes. If the spokes are missing, loose, you can feel it. I know if you can get a shot of this one here is missing a spoke back here, and the wheel's kind of wobbly. So I pointed that out when I looked at the bike. I said, hey, the spoke's missing. Just checking missing spokes is always a big thing on dirt bikes especially. Make sure there's obviously air in the tires. Now they have a flat tire or something, the guy's trying to hose you. Check condition of tires. You can see these are pretty much brand new.
Make sure the knobbies aren't ripping off. If sometimes they'll start to peel.
Right. And check for like scuffs on your rim, any bent rims. You'll see dings from people prying on them, changing tires.
Yep.
Check your chain. If you come on this side, you'll see the chain. You want to check sprocket condition. You want to see the teeth. You don't want them pointy. You want them kind of flat like that. That's how a normal sprocket looks like. When they start getting pointy, that means it's got a lot of wear and a lot of time on it.
I don't know if you cover this, but shifter shaft, see if the splines are stripped out sometimes, the shifter will be a little loose, but sometimes you can get by just tightening up the shifter.
Right, so this one here you can see is plenty tight. If you get a shot of that spline back here, you can see that it's very tight and it's not stripped or and it's not loose, so that's good.
Leaks at base gasket towards the head, anything around like these valve caps, but yeah.
And underneath the motor, by the drain plug.
Take a look underneath the motor. Sometimes they'll have a leak by the drain plug.
I mean, what I would really recommend is you just take a 50-piece toolkit.
You get the 132-piece tool set and just take it apart top to bottom right away.
And then it's fresh,
Yeah. But I mean, take a feel up under your forks by the fork seals.
Yep.
If you see any visual fluid, obviously.
If you feel any oil leaking there, that's a bigger job.
Should be alright. That's mostly on like the motocross bikes, 250s, 450s.
Right. Also, take a smell test of the gas tank.
Yeah. Yep.
Pull the cap off, especially if he says it's been sitting, or if he says, oh yeah, we just pulled it out of storage, or any of that scenarios. Always give the gas tank a smell.
Sponginess of brakes too.
That too.
If you can pull the lever to the bar, those things need to be bled off.
Yep. And then that speaks of just levers and cables too. If you look at the cable and you see all this stuff starting to get scuffed and peeling and ripping, it's a good chance you're going to need a cable very soon, and it's going to fray and break on you very quickly. So sponginess in the brakes obviously is another thing. This feels real good. It stops you got about halfway between your grip and the brake from the stop, so you're good there. If you look at this bike here,
the back brakes are really spongy.
You can feel the back brakes are really so we already knew that going in.
Yep.
When we purchased these bikes, we kind of picked them apart pretty good. This one here needed some carburetor work. Always ask them to start it for you. If they want you to start it, go ahead, but always be nice and ask them to start it for you. See how they do it. A lot of people have certain techniques, and some people have no clue, so you can just, they look like an idiot anyways. But this one here had carb issues, so we're thinking of negotiating lower. You got to use all these things that you find as a negotiation point, because you never want to pay the asking price for the bike. You just want to
factor in how much will this cost to fix, if it's a cost fix or if it's time fix.
And if you're keeping it or flipping it, because that's a whole different ballgame. If you're going to keep it, you want to put money in it to have, that's completely different. A lot of the issues you can just let go while you're looking at it. But if you're looking to make some money on the bike, you got to factor in every little thing, like how much is it going to cost to fix, how much are my parts, how much time am I going to stick into this thing, and what am I going to get out of it when it's all said and done, what's the whole bike worth. So you can use that to your advantage too, and mention to your seller, hey, I see these go for this and that on Facebook, it's worth this, you're asking this, that's kind of high, that sort of thing. But yeah, it just goes down to doing a good visual inspection. I think we didn't mention about the swing arms though on bikes. There's bushings or bearings in some of the higher quality ones. What you want to do is just see if you can wiggle it. You know, have another guy, and this is just in the spokes being loose, that's why it wiggles. But you can see this one here is tight.
You'll see it move right around that bushing that sits right in there.
And there's a bit, you can see a ball bearing right here too.
Outside too.
So make sure the swing arm's tight, especially on a dirt bike. Even it's more critical on the high performance motocross bikes. They're 250s, 450s. If you got swing arm play, you know it's been jumped, it's been pounded on. So keep that in mind. Also, in the stem, do like take your front brake and hold it and rock it. And if you feel movement, your steering stem's got some play in there too. That's always a good sign of a lot of use and a lot of abuse. So
yeah,
usually,
and if it's been used a lot, you'll see your case covers are scuffed up, you know, boot marks.
And then also one important thing about that too, with crankcases, check to see if there's any cracks in these covers over here. If they've ever blew a chain off and they didn't have a case saver of any kind,
could be JB weld.
They could have had JB weld. They could have had a crack. It could be like cracking and not all the way through and not leaking yet. So be very, very cautious when you're looking at these. You can see the sprocket's got a little bit of play. That's kind of normal on these. So just check that out too. Make sure you got bolts, or if there's a snap ring, make sure everything's in place. But yeah, that's basically it. Just if you follow these important things, you're not going to get hosed over on your bikes. You're going to be able to get the best price on the bike, and you're not going to look like an idiot when you're trying to negotiate, because you're going to know what you're talking about. I forgot to mention, guys, air filter condition. If it's full of mud, dirt, if you see cracking in the boot, you know, any of those sort of things, be very cautious when doing that, when buying it, I guess you'd say. That's another point that you could say, hey, you know, the air filter hasn't been maintained. You can ask them, you know, the history on it, if it's ever been changed, if it's original, that sort of thing. So just kind of tells you how good they took care of it. It kind of gives you a good judgment on that. Also, when you're doing that too, you can feel compression. Just do like a hand kick and just feel, you know, that's very nice compression. You could also bring a compression gauge, guys, especially if it's a 2-stroke that you're buying. It wouldn't hurt to bring a compression gauge. Most people, if they're not trying to hide anything, are going to let you put a compression tester in it and check it for yourself. And obviously you'll know by kicking it over too. If you've ever owned anything related to power sports, you're going to know if it's got low compression or not. So definitely do that. Check for smoke on the 4-strokes. If you got any oil smoke, you can smell the smell of burning oil is pretty distinct. So you'll know right away if it's smoking, and it could be rich smoke, it could be oil smoke. So make sure you definitely look into that. If it's smoking, that's a high sign that you have blow by past your rings, or you got valve guide seals that are worn out and it's sitting, it leaks oil, then maybe it'll clear up as it gets warm. So keep that in mind. Those are definitely more costly repairs if you're looking to flip it. Keep that in mind. But I think that's pretty much it. These cheaper bikes like this, a lot of the parts are inexpensive, so you can fix a lot of stuff on them for cheap. Those more high quality bikes that are $3,000, $4,000, you know, you got to really take that in consideration and take your time when trying to buy something. You know, go through it. If you're going to spend $4,000 on the bike, you might as well take the time and check it over, test ride it, make sure there's no issues, because spending high dollars, why would you want to put $3,000 more in it? So yeah, that's going to be it basically for this video. Hopefully this helps a lot of you guys that are going to go out and buy bikes. You know, summer's coming up, so it's pretty much bike season. Weather's getting nice. This goes for 4-wheelers too. You guys could use the same principles for quads. Obviously there's a little bit different things. One thing too with the clutch, you're going to want to make sure there's no slipping going on. You're going to feel it right away when if your bike doesn't take off right away and your RPMs go up but your wheel ain't moving, high chance your clutch is slipping. You can use that to your advantage to get the price down a little bit too. So other than that, make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you enjoyed and this was helpful. Subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment down below what you guys think.